Welcome to CMOs Offscript. We're experts in healthcare marketing, and each week we will tackle one topic with unfiltered advice you won't hear anywhere else. Let's jump in.
Welcome back, everyone, to CMOs Offscript. We're really happy to have you all here. We are including Jeff Hill, our special guest, again this week because we had such an interesting conversation talking about all things AI and search, and we wanted to dig in a little bit further on this, and so we're bringing him back. So welcome Jeff to our podcast. It is a lovely Friday morning. So hi, Amanda, hi, Nisha. How's everybody doing?
Living the dream.
September.
It's been a hell of a week, but it's good. It's good. It's Friday.
So what were some of the things last time that we were kind of excited to dig in more and wanted to get Jeff to bring more to the table, to go a little deeper on? Do you guys remember? Jeff, do you want to jump us off with some ideas?
Yeah, I think after we talked about AEO and GEO and probably half a dozen other acronyms, but specifically about AI, we talked about how it can be used in marketing tools. And I think one of the things someone brought up were all these AI tools for enriching data. Like someone mentioned Clay, which is my new favorite, Apollo, ZoomInfo, which I don't know, I guess it does do enrichment. I know it does a little more with intent data. And just kind of talking about that and how it might fit into the bigger marketing stack. So I've done some research. Oh, and I have to talk about HubSpot now with all their new features rolled out and their new enrichment stuff. Yeah, and so I've been doing some reading, and you could hear me out. You can make a living doing this stuff, because there's just so much out there, and so many people different companies are just adding features and making everything work together.
So going back to what Jeff was just talking about, I think the challenge from a business perspective that we continue to have is because there are so many new tools that are coming out in the market that are claiming to do the same things. It's hard to try to differentiate the value, which is funny because as a marketer, like we end up having to do that in our own worlds. And so right now with martech, it feels like around enrichment itself, there are so many tools. And in fact, like on a weekly basis, I feel like I'm getting inundated with something else that's new to the market that I should be trying. And they're all offering free trials, which is the other gimme that you're like, I might as well try it.
But who has time to try the thousands of new tools that are emerging that solve for, in some cases, a super narrow slice of the pie, right? And so then you're like, do I need 25 or 75 tools in my tech stack? Can my team manage that? Can I manage that? Can I afford that? And the answer to all of this is, realistically, unless you are in a massive organization, no.
I'd like to tag on to that. We talked about this a little bit last time, about how there's so many tools. It's going to boil down to a few, and it's going to end up being a lot of the front runners that we already know reference back to HubSpot. HubSpot's bringing some really cool stuff to their platform that we are fully enjoying. We're digging in on. So yeah, I agree with you. I'd also like to make one quick shout out to all the newsletters that are trying to tell us about the new tools that I save but don't read because I have a job. But I'm like, oh, I should read that. That's probably important.
So I have this, I'll tell you just as a general rule, and I still try to do it, although some weeks it's difficult, especially but a very long time ago, very early in my career. So I think all of you know, I come from a product marketing background, and there's this fantastic resource called Pragmatic Marketing. For product marketers, it was pretty much back in the day the only resource that you had to really put together a framework of any sorts. And in my introductory course, somebody there once talked about how if you don't carve out time every other week, block out an afternoon to just do the researching, the deep thinking, the whatever it is in your like field, not reading art, like you go and reading the articles and actually carving out the time so that you are doing those things, then you're just going to get you're going to get back on that hamster wheel of just feeling like you're constantly doing the next thing. And I try to still do something like that where it might not be a whole afternoon anymore, but it might be I carve out 2 hours where I'm like, I'm just going to go and read the newsletters and catch up on the blogs and all of those things. Because if I don't do it now, then it's just never going to get done. And then I'm going to feel,
further behind.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. What is it? Bill Gates goes away every week or 1 week every year and just reads like 20 books because he can do that. And yeah, not that Bill Gates is my hero, but I always.
But I love how we got into like the actual efficiency thing. What we're here for today is to pick your brain, Jeff, on how, with all of these enrichment tools, like where do they play specifically, where you think some of the strengths are in a few of them that you especially like, and then maybe talking a little bit about where they fit into the stack with HubSpot, I think would be really interesting as well. I'm a HubSpot, shop. Isn't it? Amanda, are you as well?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
But most of my career, I've actually been everything sales. Like I've been like sales first, top to bottom. Which I mean, yeah, that is. I have many things to say about that, both positive and negative, but not always the best. But it's just I have strong muscles there.
I know. And see, this is where also I have a contrarian view on HubSpot sometimes too, just depending on where you're looking at it. But Laura,
I think that's fair. I think
Laura is like the HubSpot stan, but that's fine. That's
fine.
I
am the HubSpot stan with cautionary tales. I think especially once you try some of these other solutions, we kind of come back. We keep coming back.
Yeah.
I don't think that HubSpot is perfect across the board.
No,
but
nothing is.
Does so many things better than everybody else, or easier to use. I like it for ease of use. So, and I really am excited about how they are bringing in tools into their platform for that because I think that it is overwhelming all of the small tools doing all this widget, and I can't keep track of that. So I appreciate that they're trying to, make their space embrace some of this new functionality. Jeff, do you want to
This
dive in?
podcast is sponsored by
I mean, we're all HubSpot users. So.
Feel free to send us some dollars. Just saying.
I know.
Totally.
I have 8 pets, so I need the money.
Called a zoo, Jeff. It's called a zoo.
I know. I'll bring a chicken.
I wonder how you landed on the number 8. Like 8, really? That's not totally accurate, but go ahead.
All right, it's actually 11. No, 12. Sorry. I forgot the rat. So that's another podcast. So, all right. So let's talk about some specific tools because I could talk about categories, but as I said, as I inferred, you can't look at all of them, and our jobs are not to go out there and do product reviews, so we don't have the time. But I have tried several, and I want to talk about Clay.com. I really like it. They just, I think they just completed a $100 million funding round. They're valued at $1 billion. And they just rolled out some really cool updates recently. They now have like an AI. So let me back up. Some of the previous criticism of Clay is that it's very technical. You have to be kind of a data geek, and I'm a little bit of a data geek, so I like it. But
Jeff, can you back up one step further and explain where it fits in the tech stack? Like, what is Clay?
All right, very good. So Clay is a tool. They're labeling themselves as a go-to marketing platform. They actually have a big blog post on what go-to marketing engineers are, and that they say that they're the primary tool for go-to marketing engineers. I feel like they're making their own category. But anyway, you can use them for multiple things. You can use it to create a list. It has a monster database. It has a Chrome extension, so if someone's silly enough to post all their contact information out there on the website, it's super simple to create a tool to go out and scrape it. You can upload data, and it does integrate with Salesforce and HubSpot. And what it does is it pulls on the myriad of tools out there. So one of the ways I use it is that I'll have a list, and we also have a Clay subscription, and I can tell it, and I've linked it with Apollo subscription. Sorry, I'll go in and have a list of contacts, and say, link up to Apollo, find me all these emails, and what that does, it's a very low cost way to find the vast majority of the emails I'm looking for. And then what I can do is use all its other integrations, because it links with like Find My Mail, just other platforms for finding email addresses. And you can do the same for phone numbers. We don't do a lot of phone numbers, or mostly email. But the capability is there, and then I can just use it to complete the list. So if Apollo returns like 60% of the emails, I can usually get us to 90 to 95% of emails. And some of the cool things with that is that it integrates, but you can also then integrate it with ChatGPT or some other AI tools. And I could actually create sequences within Clay that would be sent to HubSpot. I know it integrates with Salesforce, but I'm not a Salesforce person. So what I like about it is that it does integrate with all these tools, and it's integrating with workflow tools that can automatically update content on your website. So it's kind of a Swiss Army knife, if you will. It does a lot of things, and I think their AI agent is their attempt to make it a little bit more simple to use. But yeah, so overall, I like Clay.com because I think it does those things. And when you do have subscriptions to some of these other services, if you're doing a lot of contact mining, it can lower the cost, because otherwise Clay will charge you their cost per credit for those platforms. So I like that it does that. So that's why I like Clay. It feeds into HubSpot. You can create a list. You can also schedule it. So you did it on a query of, C-suite people in these X number of companies, and have it rerun that every week, and then it'll add anyone to the list, and it looks at LinkedIn and all the usual places, and update your workflow or sequence and bring those new people in automatically.
And Nisha, why don't you dig in with your question?
Yes.
Amazing. So I think you touched on something that the one thing about Clay that I think a lot of us struggle with is the price point. It is really hard to justify if you're a smaller organization, and sometimes trying to figure out how to consolidate, like, do we need an Apollo and a Clay? Do we need a ZoomInfo and a Clay and a Breeze AI upgrade? I think it's some of the challenges that I know I personally have, where I'm like, why do all these things seem to be doing the same thing, and yet why do I have all of them?
Yeah.
Would love for you to walk through kind of that scenario and what you normally advise folks.
I mean, that's a great point. It can be expensive. I think there are strategies out there, talking specifically about Clay, to help lower your costs, especially if you're pulling X number of contacts every month, or you have to get so many emails out. If you know that you're doing that, you can get subscriptions and go to the sources, if you will, like Apollo directly, and buy a subscription, and that can help lower your overall costs with Clay. You're right, it's not cheap. If you want to have the integration with HubSpot, I believe the plan is between $300 and $400 a month, where it has that integration. It's not it's not for the faint of heart, if you will.
But if I now have to get Clay and something else, am I just like it, and I'm lowering the cost of Clay, am I just robbing Peter to pay Paul? Because now I have to get two things with Apollo, and I've got the HubSpot, and right, again, it goes back to like, how are we, I mean, literally every one of us is like 9 times out of 10, like, oh, you want more money? Please show me the value you are creating with your tech stack, right? Like tech stack, it's not sexy, it's driving value, but it's all behind the scenes. So I can say this person is going to deliver X. Like, how is my tech stack actually in service of revenue generation, which we all know everyone cares about, right? So how is that going to actually deliver on that?
And that's a great question. And that's what I think you have to look at, of how many you're planning to pull, how many contacts, I mean, so on, new, and it pulls company information as well. And then get an idea of how many you're doing, then you can do the math, because you can get, low level Apollo plan that pulls like 1,000 contacts or something like that a month. And if you're not doing big, B to C kind of emails, I think you can make the numbers work. I think what Clay does, it just adds a whole new level of automation, and it does provide a way to find that additional data. As far as value, HubSpot with their new tools could be pulling all that data. I would say that Clay can replace something like, and I know I might start a whole debate here.
ZoomInfo.
Yeah, I think ZoomInfo is very pricey. And the thing with Clay is you can have credits carry over from 1 month to the other. So maybe you just take it slow, and then the next month you do twice as many. But again, it's not the most intuitive tool. You have to be kind of, if you're good at spreadsheets, you can do it. But I wouldn't have your non-technical person try to play around with Clay.
So I would chime in and say ZoomInfo is incorporating AI and incorporating all these features as well. So I think the distinguishing with ZoomInfo, in my sense, is typically a larger ticket item.
Yes.
Where I see the value for ZoomInfo is when you have a pretty skilled and large sales team who's leveraging ZoomInfo, and they're accessing it, then that's where that could be really valuable. But if you are trying to be budget conscious, using a combination of Apollo and Clay is great, because sales teams can quickly learn how to find what they need on Apollo individually. And then a technician can use Clay to enrich, to provide deeper content, right? So it's, and then, looking at what HubSpot's doing, HubSpot is early days, and I think what we should do is plan for a future podcast and bring an expert on to really dive into all of the options with HubSpot. They just had their inbound conference. They just rolled out new features early last week. And we're super excited about what they're doing. We're playing with it right now. Several of the new modules are in beta or free for the month. So we don't know exactly what it's going to look like from a pricing perspective until November. So we can talk about what they have. We can talk about how it plays in their platform, but we probably can't do an apples to apples comparison for pricing for another couple months. So when we're looking apples to apples, ZoomInfo, bigger ticket, doing a lot of this stuff, it's pretty cool, but you have to have a pretty experienced sales team using it to make it valuable. Apollo can get a lot of that job done with Clay backing it. And that can make it cost effective to use Clay. And with all of this, the thinking is that marketing is uber targeted now. Like, we want to be so targeted. And so we want to pull bespoke lists of people based on very specific title, industry, company combinations to do very specific campaigns. And so that's really the backbone of all of this effort, is to become even more crafted and targeted in your messaging. So leveraging all of this technology to allow us to deliver more impactful messaging to the right person, right time, et cetera.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
My soapbox now.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of talking about ABM now because we are all focused on the B2B stuff. Yeah. But, getting back to your original question, Amanda, I think, I think you do have to look at your tech stack, look at what price and value each one's bringing. It's really hard to do the math sometimes. But again, if you have an idea of like what your KPI is regards to emails or output, you can kind of do some of the math. Now, there's tons of tools out there that fill different spots or wanted to fill different spots. And I guess that's why we like HubSpot is that they are Swiss Army knives, which I don't know. Do kids know what Swiss Army knives are anymore? Am I dating myself?
That's a really good question, but I think, God, I hope so. But I do think that's an interesting point because I think a lot about this idea of specialization versus multifunction, multifaceted capabilities in a lot of different respects. Like the talent that you bring into an organization, the capability of your tool set, right? Like, can you only do one thing? And if like marketing is not a static function, right? Like it is constantly evolving. And so if you can only do this one thing and the business evolves, do I shed? Do I let go of the people or the solutions? Or do I look for those things that have got multi-function, multi-purpose capabilities? Somebody that has that ability to operate, somebody or something that has that ability to do more than one thing, so that as the needs are evolving, or you can see that the tool has, a future ready roadmap that shows like those those more durable capabilities. I think about that a lot, and it's hard because you do need to focus on what do I need today,
Yeah.
but also recognize that the world that we live in is it's anything but static, and everything is moving and changing at a pretty rapid rate right now. And I don't know, I'm just pontificating a little bit, but
yeah,
it's on my mind. It's on my mind a lot.
So yeah, I guess talking about staffing, you want to look for the people that can learn quickly too. That have that flexibility. But I would say you have. I mean, this is a whole different category of what we want to talk about. But when you're hiring, like I look at the creative people, writing, design, things like that, and then I look at my more analytical people, the ones that play Sudoku on their spare time. And sometimes there's overlap, and those are usually the ones that shoot to the top. But yeah, it's hard because the tools and the ease or difficulty of using them is a constant dynamic that's just shifting. But yeah, it's fun. Keeps us out of trouble.
For sure. Nisha, you were going to say something.
Sorry.
Thanks. The point on the people I think is really important, and just to touch on that, I think out of all of the roles, we've talked a lot about roles changing with the newer tech and some of the aspects. And we all know that marketing today is a lot different than it was even 2 years ago. But I think the ops role is one of the ones that I continue to feel like if the person that you are hiring for or have in your organization is not able to do the stuff that Jeff is, or be able to utilize some of these newer capabilities, I think that's the thing that is going to, from an efficiency perspective, really put you behind, is if your ops person isn't utilizing a GPT to help enrich a few things, or utilizing it in some of the workflows, and understands like the strengths and the weaknesses of each tool when they bring on, and how to make sure that it all flows together and there's like data flow between them. And that role in itself, the ops role, the way I hired for it 5 years ago is completely different than the way I'm like currently thinking about the role from just a head of marketing perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like my expectations are so much more for an operation, like a RevOps, marketing ops role right now. Like I'm looking for this like automation engineer / like you gotta understand a little bit of like how marketing work / like work, be revenue focused, also be able to keep up with some of like the newer technology elements. Also, maybe I might need you to code for something. I'm not really sure, because vibe coding is a thing, and I hear like everybody should be able to do that now.
Everyone.
And so there's like,
and I want you to be a constant learner. Could you be a constant learner?
Could you also be a constant learner? Because I might need like an AI editing tool at some point. I need you to figure that out for me too.
Detail oriented. I need you to.
But I also have a very limited budget.
Like,
favorite. I have no
just like the list is like, but it's fine. But it's fine. Don't worry. We'll be able to find the unicorn. Imagine.
And a team player. I need a team player.
Good communication skills. Yeah. Yeah, it's all hard. I would argue though, for the coding thing, I use ChatGPT all the time. I mean, I don't code big things, but like website things and stuff like that, or creating markup, it's so easy. But yeah, I mean that I guess that's another topic, is as far as multi-tools, is that like a person figures out how to use all the different prompts and really take advantage of these the general AI tools, ChatGPT, Claude. I really like Claude for content recently. You can get a lot accomplished with it. I mean, I use them all the time. But again, I am the guy that kind of plays Sudoku in my spare time too. But you know what? These people coming out of college that can write their paper, watch Family Guy, and do something else all at the same time. I'm talking about my elder child. Yes. I'll be on the phone with her like at school, and she'll be working on a paper for animal science. She'll have Family Guy on her iPad, and she'll be doing FaceTime on her phone with me. And my head just explodes sometimes. It's like, how do you do that? Anyways, but yeah, they're hard to find and reliable communication skill. Maybe it's 2 roles now. But then you get back to budget.
Nisha is the early adopter on all things GPT. So I feel like you were doing GPTs before we knew how to spell GPT. So
I think you might be right.
I will say, yeah, I've gotten quite handy with it.
Yes.
It's the thing that I think most people underestimate. And the thing that, I read such an interesting article yesterday just around our expectations of AI, and how when I'm utilizing the GPT, I'm never expecting it to replace my own brain or build a colleague. I think most people are like, oh, we want like a content writer and we want this person. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the wrong expectation of it. Like, you want to build something that is going to be able to, like, as much context as you can provide, and you want the output of it to basically be similar to the context that you provided. Like, it's not going to come up with this like ingenious thing, because you're the one that's feeding it all the context.
Right.
It's like it makes, I want it to make me better. Yes. I want to give it all my juice, and I want it to help make me better and faster
and more efficient. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think versus people are like, help me think through this scenario. And I'm like, no, it's not going to help you think. No, you got to.
I mean, it can ask you questions so that you can do the thinking. Like, help me, what questions should I be, like, you can push it to ask you thoughtful questions or create prompts for you that you then feed back to it. Like, yes. Hey, I'm trying to do this. I need to get from point A to point F. Like, let's talk about milestones, questions, things that I should be considering along the way. Like, all of that is possible. And know that it may not be 100%, but hell, if you're starting from a blank slate, like if you're starting from 0, does it add 20% value, 50% value? Like, at the end of the day, anything that's like advancing you further than where you are today at a rapid rate, nothing to snooze at, especially if it's not from 0 to 1 or 2%, but 0 to 50%. Like, that's a win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I have like multiple prompts I've saved, and I'll upload referential articles like, I want to get this done. Look at these articles for ideas. Do this for me, and I have those saved, and I reuse them over and over. I guess it's almost like a mini LLM of your own.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's yeah, all the time. I use it all the time. I don't know, you guys have played with Claude. Claude does some really cool stuff too. Like it'll create some cool graphics and things. I know graphics are very questionable using AI graphics, but I just have a free account, but I think it's doing some interesting things.
So I will say I haven't tried it yet, but I read this week that that Gemini has actually gotten like
Souped up.
zooped up its image creator, and so out of everything, apparently Gemini right now is beating everybody else in image creation.
Wow, interesting.
So I haven't tried it yet, but that's my to do this weekend is play around.
Yeah, image creation I would say is where I haven't had great success with AI. Full disclosure, I feel like I'm starting to have better success with slide creation using, who has a good slide creation AI is Microsoft's PowerPoint has now got some AI functionality in there. And so they've got some great updates, which I haven't been a PowerPoint fan in a long time, but there was some good stuff there.
So funny you say that, because I've been we're a Microsoft shop, and so we now are like much heavier users of Copilot on all
that's
things.
interesting.
How do you like it? Because that's where
it's actually pretty damn good. Like shockingly, and not just for like, say, like PowerPoint, but you have the option of having it look internal to your existing files and docs. So you can, work or web. So I can choose where I want it to be looking for content and referential, and then can set up agents inside and say, hey, I need it to have voice and tone and ask me these prompts every time to make sure that we're focused on like audience. Like
that's so good.
So like, I mean, thank God we've got some resources that have helped us to build some of the agents that we can use to enhance the output. But yeah, I mean, that's been a game changer for me, even just over the last, I would say, few weeks, as we've started to migrate and move more deeply into using Copilot. We're doing everything we can across the organization to really enhance our use of AI in a systematic way to both improve efficiency and just quality of work, and frankly offload. I mean, I always think about it in that sense of like, we talk a lot in the healthcare arena of like, how do we allow our healthcare professionals to operate top of license? And to me, it's equally true in our world as well. How do you leverage this to operate top of license? What are the things that you can offload? How can you enhance your work? How can you increase productivity? And yeah, it's been, I'm like, hey, I need a slide that talks about these things. Like, just throw me a draft. Like, give me something to work with here. And I'm like, yeah. Is the design what I need it to be? No. Is the content like 75% there? Yeah. Thanks. Take that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great. That's cool.
Yeah, now I'll go play around with Gemini, see if it's doing any of that stuff.
It is. Cause I've definitely, I use chat and then I'll use slides for my creation, but I then for some client work use PowerPoint and I guess Copilot. And within the theme, it's able to create some pretty decent looking, slides. It's pretty cool. I'm psyched. That's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah. It makes me want to be a Microsoft.
All right. So our next.
Does it really?
It just makes me think. Sometimes I think, oh, Microsoft is so behind the times, and then they do something like this.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
They are just innovators. I know, like all the big ones that just invested so much in AI and AI data centers, but I like when I hear that Microsoft's doing stuff like that.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
It is always a pleasure to talk to everyone. Have a great weekend.
That's a wrap for this episode of CMOs Offscript. This podcast was made possible by Breezy Hill Marketing. Don't forget to explore the podcast notes or CMOsOffscript.com for additional insights and resources. Until next time, be bold and stay curious.